Here we go. It's almost time for the show, but I want to take a few seconds here to talk about vigilantes. If you are not, right there, man, if you are not a vigilante, why not? It's $5 a month. It is less than the cost of a cup of coffee, and there is so many benefits. The biggest benefit being you get to connect to like-minded individuals who think the same way that you think. And it's a powerful, powerful place to be. The Discord is where all of the interaction is going on. There is so much going on in there, it's hard to explain. And the only way to be a part of it is to get on the Patreon so that you can get access to the Discord channel. It is a good time. Go become a part. There's new stuff we're working on. Last week, we had a vigilante meetup in Louisiana at the Lift conference. It was a phenomenal time. And the vigilantes and I got to sit there and discuss, hey, how can we make these even better? How can we make these even better? And we did. We decided a way to give the Viceroy solid rules and ways to host the meeting, how to have the open with the toast and close with the creed, and what to do with the coins and the numbered coins and the challenges involved. It was a good time, man, to make it even better. They're doing stuff like working on building the V drive, putting together all this knowledge and files that they're building together. Currently, they're they're collecting blueprints and plans to work for the work of search, which is the drill supplement for the book of search. It's going to be coming out soon. They're working on putting that together. It's just phenomenal what they got going on. Not to mention, you get swag discounts, access to the vigilante only shop, access to the after parties, and of course the vigilante meetups. It's amazing. If you're not a part, why not? I have to ask you that. If you're still only on the Facebook, man, get with the times, get on the Patreon so you can be in the Discord. Do it. Quit faffing about. Patreon.com/thevigilantes. Go join so you can get in the Discord. Right now, we're currently doing a V50. There's like 35 of us doing a V50 together. We're on day 2 today, and we got 48 days to go, but already it's challenging me, and the accountability is amazing. So if you want to find like-minded souls, patreon.com/thevigilantes. I'll see you on the Discord.
In the demanding world of firefighting, training against real-world scenarios is crucial. Yet traditional training facilities often fall short in providing realistic, versatile, and cost-effective training solutions. Affordable Drill Towers presents a groundbreaking solution. By positioning an affordable drill tower alongside your existing Connex boxes burn buildings, a realm of realistic, multi-level training scenarios is unlocked. This integration has been adopted successfully by various fire departments, enhancing their training capabilities exponentially. Delve into the heart of live fire training scenarios within the Connex boxes, now amplified by the ADT's multi-floor access, providing an unparalleled training ground.
We started looking at Connex boxes about probably 10 years ago. To me, you can't beat them, especially for the price. The affordable drill tower was the same way. We've got 6 floors, we've got standpipes on every floor, we've got more anchor points than you can count, we've got removable floors, removable stairs. We can go into the 2nd and 3rd floor off the drill tower, so whether you want us to use it as an external stairwell or a high-rise, we can do all that and mimic just about any type of situation that the members of our fire department might encounter.
Experience cost-effectiveness, enhanced realistic training, versatile operations, easy multi-floor access, and innovative solutions to age-old training challenges. Take your fire department's training to the next level with Affordable Drill Towers. Reach out to Affordable Drill Towers to elevate your training capabilities today.
With it.
Corley Moore, Firehouse Vigilance. It is weekly scrap number 289. My guest tonight is Chris Sleigher, and I have been trying to make this one happen for 5 years. Literally 5 years this month. Chris Sleigher serves as a battalion chief with the City of Mesa Fire Department in Arizona. Over 26 years of experience and a captain for over 17 of those years. He's a lead instructor with Fire by Trade and has taught at numerous fire conferences all across the country. As the former president of Fire Nuggets, he worked very closely with David Rhodes to complete the Book of Andy Fredericks. Chris specializes in engine company operations, utilizing his experiences in handling a range of scenarios, from single-family homes to high-rise buildings. He is officially, finally, after half a decade, the guest on the Scrap for episode number 289. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you for having me, dude. I'm so excited, and I'm so sorry it took me so long to get here. But yeah, I'm jazzed about tonight. So open book, I am 10 months away from retirement.
Right on.
I am sure there are people out there worried about what I have to say today. But we're going to keep it as clean as we can.
Fair.
And yeah, it'll be good.
We'll have to have another one in here in about 11 months then.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
Right. No, absolutely. And no, is there anything I missed in the intro? Anything you would like to add?
Man, other than I've got two amazing daughters. That Mackenzie is 20 years old and she's a junior at Grand Canyon University. And then my little one's going to pop in here for sure. She's out there doing homework. She's 13. Her name is Blakely. She's awesome. I can't say enough about these two kids. They're both great students and great human beings. So Mackenzie, I did a women's conference last year, and Mackenzie worked with Paul Combs to draw the
really?
logo. Yeah, she did a spin off his the Women in Fire one that he did, the girl, and it was awesome. And then my little one, my 13-year-old, loves to public speak.
Oh, really?
She loves it. And she did the opening ceremony in front of 150 women representing like 20 different departments. And she stood up there like a champ and did the opening ceremony for that. So it's super cool to watch these kids grow up and be a part of that.
So one very proud girl dad.
For sure. The
light of your world, I can tell, man. That's absolutely awesome. So one's an artist, and then one, no fear, apparently, because fear of public speaking being one of those. There she is.
There she is right there. Come in here. Yeah. So I was just telling him you did the opening the speech for the women's conference.
Oh yeah.
So
say Blakely. Blakely, is that what it was?
Yeah, Blakely, we just call her Blake. But
okay. Well, nice to meet you, Blake. Welcome to the Scrap.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you too.
All right.
So, yeah. So two awesome kids. They weren't around. I sheltered them from the fire service for a little bit, so they don't have any idea what Dad does too. But it's cool to watch them start getting involved and do that stuff.
That's awesome, brother. That is awesome. Audience, get your questions ready for Chris and myself. It's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about, relationships, engine work, nozzle work, training philosophies, generations, training, you name it. We're going to talk about it. And so get your questions ready, primed to go. Sam is here. He is although I will tell you, Sam is under the weather. He is fighting what I think he has the flu, but we'll see. But he's here. He's grabbing your questions. And with all that being said, I'll do the sponsors. We'll get the sponsors done so we can get to the Scrap. So here we go. Excuse me. Clear my throat. When it comes to performance under pressure, you need equipment that won't let you down. That's where American-made Snap-Tight comes in. Built tough for firefighters, Snap-Tight hose is engineered to perform under pressure. Plus, Snap-Tight hoses are easy to deploy and even easier to rely on, with unmatched heat resistance to abrasion and extreme temperatures. Here's the best part. They offer guaranteed shipping and 4-week lead times. Visit snaptighthose.com to learn more or find a distributor near you. Snap-Tight hose, reliable, durable, ready when you are. Affordable Drill Towers, on a mission to bring you cost-effective and versatile training props, like the Affordable Bailout Prop, which allows you to practice window bailouts, ladder bailouts, and ladder high-point rescues. They also make the Affordable Standpipe Prop, which you can roll into the classroom for standpipe theory and then roll it into the parking lot and pump realistic flows and pressures. And of course, their mainstay, the Affordable Drill Tower. It comes in several configurations and standard with the standpipe system. You can choose from 1 or 2 sets of stairs, integrated into your existing connect boxes for multi-story access or freestanding on a slab. All models are NFPA 1402 compliant and gain you ISO credit. The only thing that you can't do on an Affordable Drill Tower is live fire training. Call Steve, 844-55-TOWER, or drop an email to info@affordabledrilltowers.com. And Firefighter safety and accountability starts with being able to quickly find and identify individual firefighters operating on the Fireground. Identifier safety combines the best in photoluminescent materials for durable firefighter identification solutions that can glow for up to 20 hours. No switches, no batteries, which means being able to rapidly and quickly identify firefighters by name, unit, or assignment, even under hot fire conditions. All specifically designed and tested for the rigors of the job. Be seen, on scene, identifiersafety.com. And last but not least, I want to mention March 6th and 7th next week. Coming up, it's in Plainfield, Indiana, right outside of Indianapolis. 2 days of fire officer training. Chief Jason Hoffman will be there. Chief Steve Shaw will be there. I will be there. It's going to be an amazing time. So if you are there, get registered for an amazing conference, Pittsburgh Fire Officer Seminar. All right. I wanted to mention that. That gets the sponsors done. That gets all of the bills paid. And now we're ready to chat and talk tactics and have some fun. People are kind of excited about you being on, Chris. I don't know if you know this or not.
Nope. No.
I was gonna say,
I think maybe some excitement and some worry, but dude, I'm so happy to be here.
Good.
It's really neat. And if you don't mind, there's some people that helped get me here, like Chief Brian Brush. That's been a huge mentor. I'd love to give him a shout out. And then we'll, of course, maybe tell that story, how we became friends when we talk about this network thing. And then, Barry Richardson from MES, Ken Bush from Sure Sales, Jerry Herb, Stretch, all those guys, Brian Brush or Brian Scott, they've without fail supported every conference that Fire Nuggets has asked them to host. The one we did in Phoenix here, the Incident Management Symposium, the Phoenix Fire Spider Symposium, dude, they have been amazing. And without their individual support, there is no way I would be where I'm at right now. So I got to give them a shout out at the beginning of this and say thank you to MES, Sure Sales, and Elkhart Brass.
I love that, brother. I absolutely love it, man. I love the shout out. I love the network. I love the relation, which is a great segue to go right into the first topic I wanted to talk to you about, which is the power of relationships and basically how much of an impact those have had on your, not just your career, but your impact on the fire service.
Yeah, dude, it's profound. That started very, very pure. I was working on a project, doing some rescue stuff with the city. We got Fire Crew of the Year for that, for basically cutting our rescue times in half.
Nice.
And I ended up doing some research on that, and I was reading, way back then in 2013, 14, when before UL was what we know it today. It was in its infancy. It was like the Weekend Firefighter with Steve Kerber and Derek Alconis. And you can still look up some of that on YouTube. And so I started looking at that up and going, man, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. What's this heat release rate? What's this flow path? So, and in 2014, I ended up doing a presentation called Preventing the Mayday. And I took this guy, Adam St. John from the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Fire Research Lab. He did a couple-hour presentation on YouTube a while back from Mark Folkenham, Line of Duty Death. And he goes into several others. So I started doing some research, clipping some video. My chiefs called me. We ended up doing a committee on that and changing the way that we fight fire to this day. And then ended up from that, I ended up going back to UL for their PPA, PPV studies. And I met a guy named John Kroll, and he works in Illinois. And he goes, "Hey, man, do you know this guy, Andy Starnes?" And I'm like, "No, never heard of him." Right? He's like, "You should give him a call." So I called Andy, and our oldest daughters are right around that same age. So they're up on our laps coloring while we're doing a Zoom meeting talking about fire behavior. This is pre-Andy and thermal imaging. Like he's just dabbling in it. Right. So this is right when his dad, Joe, and him were doing the second set of a Kill the Flashover project.
Okay.
So Andy's like, "Hey, bro, you need to come out here and check this out. We've got a bunch of structures. We're going to do non-1403 compliant burns. We've got guys from Sweden up here in Ecuador, and we're just going to do a bunch of studies." And so next thing I know, I'm on another plane, right, from UL in Illinois or wherever, and then now I'm in North Carolina talking to Andy Starnes and meeting all these guys from Sweden and California and Boise, and um, so met with him, and Andy's one of Andy's firefighters, Jim, and teaches with Aaron. He goes, "Hey, have you ever heard of this guy, Aaron Fields?" I'm like, "No." So he's like, "Dude, you got to take Aaron Fields' class." So I'm like, "All right." So I'm on my phone. I look at it, and then next thing I know, I jump a plane to Colorado, and I'm taking Aaron Fields' class. And so that couple years, I think I went to 2 different countries and 6 different states, just meeting people. And one of those was I went to FDIC, and I walked into a class, and it really wasn't for me. Fire conferences, love to get in a little more depth about this later, but fire conferences are a buffet. You know what I mean? You take what fits your organization, what you think you can bring back, what
Sure.
you're operationally ready for, right? And don't have to make a lot of changes. So I walk into one class and it wasn't for me. So I walk out and I walk into a class called Gaining Relative Superiority by this guy named Brian Brush, right? So I'm sitting there, and Brian, if you know Brian Brush, I mean, I don't need to say anymore. But this guy is the stud of all studs. He's just well spoken, super humble, gracious guy, one of the best human beings I've met. And he goes, "Hey guys, if you guys want this presentation after I'm done, come up and grab it. I'll give it to you on a thumb drive." So I didn't have a thumb drive. I didn't come prepared. B, he just got inundated with everybody in his class, right? So I walked up and handed Brian a challenge coin, and I said, "Sir, your class didn't suck." That's what I told him. And I left. So about two weeks later, I had gave him a call, and he goes, "Dude, you're that guy that gave me the challenge coin." He goes, "That was the best compliment I ever had." So I texted him the other day, and I said, "Hey man, I'm going to be on the scrap." He goes, "Go kick some ass, dude." Oh, sorry. I'm going to self-censor. He goes, um, he goes, "Yeah, go kick some butt, dude. And you don't suck." So, I
Nice.
mean, I don't
Full
know.
circle.
Yeah, 10 years later, we're still
And the
going right.
censorship is your option. I always tell people this. People tend to do it on the scrap, and I'm okay with that. Don't get me wrong, but it's the internet. You can say you can be yourself, is what I'm saying.
Well, dude, I know your grandpa watches. I
Right.
want to offend him. I want him to be like, "I like that dude." So
He's right
I'm
there
gonna
on the Arizona border too. He's right there at Four Corners area.
when I break down like the Fireground stuff, I'm gonna be like, there's 3 swear words that I can funnel this all down to. So, but
Okay.
we'll get to it. So, but yeah, dude, that was the journey. And then since then, like I said, I flew to Boise to teach a fire behavior class, and with a guy named Jason Coy, and we were talking about nozzle forward, like surface cooling tactics, and Sweden gas cooling tactics. And since I had just experienced a lot of that over the last couple months, it was good conversation. And there's this dude in there. His name is James Greenwood, um, tattooed from knuckle to neck. I don't know if you know James. Do you know James?
No, where's he out of?
He's out of Boise, and the dude's amazing. He
Okay,
used to be
okay.
a lawyer. And so him and I had a conversation in Boise about fire behavior, nozzle work, surface cooling versus gas cooling. What are the benefits? And it turns out he's on the board of Fire Nuggets. So I was like, "Dude, I'd really like to have Brush out to Arizona." He goes, "Man, I can help you with that." So I brought Brian Brush out here to Arizona. I brought Aaron Fields out here.
Nice.
Peter Van Dorp, the Cancer Coalition. I just started with Von Oppen, David Griffin, just little things, and then finally blew it up into a big Copper State Fire Conference. So, and then we can talk about that stuff later as well, because we've had several out here. Yeah, and it's been absolutely incredible. It's been a ride for sure.
No doubt.
But it's been a good time. And then ultimately, when Dave Sprague, there's no way I could fill that guy's shoes. He was the president of Fire Nuggets, 8 years before me. um and I don't think anybody really wanted to do it because I'm the
Right.
least senior guy, and they're like, "Hey, sucker." So That's how I got voted in for president for a few years.
And
Um,
when did you take over on that? When did you get thrust into that position?
oh man, let's see. I just turned out or stepped down from president last year. So that was 2023, 2, 1, maybe 2020,
Okay,
2019.
okay, okay.
Yeah, right in there.
Right on. So you did your stint.
I did, yeah, and it
Yeah.
was good, man. We grew. I can honestly say I feel like I didn't do much because Dave Sprague is so awesome. Like Alfonso Munoz, James Greenwood, of course, Daryl Liggins is part of that.
Right.
You know, the guys in there, Jeff Bryant, who's now president, Joey Schuler, whose dad started Fire Nuggets, one of the two with Ted Corporandi. Um, Dude, it seemed like all of a sudden I'm surrounded by stars,
Right, right.
between Starnes and Brush and Fields and all these other dudes. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah,
You
they're
know,
the Hall of Famers. They're first ballot Hall of Famers.
I don't know if anybody mountaineers in here, but there's one time years ago, and this is how I felt. Like I go to climb Mount Rainier, and I'm on a rope team with Lou Whitaker, who's like, a legend in the mountaineering world. His son, which is the only time they've done Mount Rainier together, this was the second time they did it. Robert Link, who led a Russian expedition up Everest, and Noang Gambu, who was the first Sherpa to summit Everest twice. And I'm literally on their rope team. And I'm like, dude, and that's how I felt in the fire service, right? When I'm surrounded by these all-stars, and I'm like, man, I'm instantly humbled, and I can keep my mouth shut and learn so much because I feel like, and you probably know this being a chief, Corley, but I feel like people listen with the intent to respond and not the intent to learn or understand. And I was just like, man, I just need to listen to these guys and soak it up like a sponge. So I try to keep it in its purest form and go from there.
No, I love it. Now, when this journey started, was it more of were you just on a quest for knowledge when it started, or was it personal improvement, or were you actually trying to meet people? Was that the byproduct, or?
No, it's the byproduct for sure. It was once I started realizing I didn't know what I didn't know, and getting into the flow path stuff and the nozzle work, the surface cooling and gas cooling. Fields really resonated with me the most. He tells this story about a young man. His father died on the line in the line of duty, and I can go into details of it. I actually spoke about it in the academy because it hit me so hard at a personal level. And he's like, man, he goes, this kid was draped over the casket. He's 2 years old, the American flag. And then fast forward 20 years, I'm teaching in the academy, and this mom comes up to me and pokes me in the chest and says, hey, I need you to look me in the eye and tell me you did everything you can to bring my son home safe. And he's like, yeah. And some of the senior guys are like, hey, that's the guy's wife that passed away. And that kid that just graduated the academy was that 2-year-old kid 20 years ago.
Oof.
So, dude, the way he tells that story, the emotional impact it had on me, all of a sudden I was like, oh man, I'm an engine captain on a training rig. It is my job to bring you home safe. And it's not my job to bring you home safe at the end of the tour. It's my job to educate myself, educate you, share as much information as I can to bring you home at the end of 30 years. Right.
Mm.
That's where I want to be. I want to play the infinite game and not this finite game. Because I was there, dude. I was trying to make a push, probably pissed off everybody in my department at one time, and I can publicly apologize for some of that. Some of you guys are just assholes. So, but but for the most part, it was just a quest to bring my guys home safe at the end of their 20-year career. And I'm still pushing. I got 10 months left. I got battalion level training lined out for these guys. When I leave here, I just want them to know I care about them. That's it.
Mm.
So, but that's how I started.
I love it, brother.
And I'm not going to quit. Bruno said something years ago to the point of like, gosh, I think I wrote it down, but he said something like, our role is to protect our firefighters as incident commanders. And we won't rest redeveloping the incident management system until we can overcome the issues that we see on the emergency scenes and Fireground. So he's constantly talking about evolving and readapting the system, and that's all I'm doing too. There's so many changes in the fire service right now, and it's an unprecedented access to information. It's incredible. So if I can share it, then that's my job.
Love it. I love it, brother. There's some good, yeah. You already got some max points coming at you from the audience. So they're already throwing it in there. I like this question coming at you because it's on topic. It comes from Gregory Van Ham. He said, when it comes to networking, how do you explain to other firefighters the benefits of going to conferences to network?
Oh man, such a good question. And so I'm glad you asked that, because there's so many benefits to different conferences. And it's like a buffet. And I'll tell you what, we should have a safe word, Corley, here. We'll just say Armageddon. If I go off the cuff, then you just yell Armageddon. But so hosting conferences, and being a part of all these conferences and going places. David Rhodes wrote a great article, maybe a year ago, on your local fire conferences. You got to go with a couple things. First, you got to go with an open mind and figure out what is important to your organization and what your organization is capable of handling.
Sure.
So for me, for example, teaching nozzle and hose stuff, I rolled up, I forget where I was, but they're like, dude, the firefighters love your class. The chiefs hate it because they know it's going to cost them money, right? Because after the class, they're going, man, we need these hoses and these nozzles, and we're doing these type of lays, right? So now it's costing manpower and labor and stuff like that. So the fire service is a buffet. So you need to understand what your organizations can actually handle and digest, and where that impact's going to be the best. So to explain the benefit of them, I mean, it's a cultural impact, right? Like the benefits of fire conferences like FDIC changes your values and your culture, right? It's a different mission-driven focus when you go to some of these fire conferences and absorb it. And so I guess I'll give you an example. Phoenix Fire and Mesa Fire. We're in what we call the Phoenix Regional System, right? And I was telling you a little bit about this earlier. So I'll break it down to you, and I'll come full circle.
Okay.
So when we talk about the system in Arizona, it's almost like no other. It is the linchpin, the bedrock, the gold standard response model, right? So for us, and this is a Bruno thing, I don't know if anybody can take credit for it. The city of Mesa is 139 square miles. We respond about 52 units altogether, but we have 24 engines, 6 ladders, and we're tripling our ambulance service here in the new future. Mesa Fire runs 68,000 calls a year, with about 20% of those being fire calls.
Sure.
Combined with the region that we dispatch from our dispatch center, we take about 400 calls a day, right? And there's 200,000 emergency and non-emergency calls. So from the Phoenix Regional Dispatch Center, they run about 472,000 calls out of those. They dispatch for 26 different jurisdictions that covers about 2,000 square miles. Now, here's the kicker. We all run off the same SOPs. They're published. You can go to phoenixfire.com, look at publications, and it's Phoenix Fire Volume 2. We all run off the same SOPs. We have an almost identical response model throughout the valley. We have 4-person staffing. In Mesa, we have 2 paramedics on every single truck across the city, right? It is the gold standard, and there are 0 city boundaries, right? We all work off AVL. I can see every unit on my CAD, and no matter what it says on the back of your shirt, no matter what color your fire truck is, excuse me, AVL will pick you up and we will respond to your home, period.
Oof.
No questions asked, right? It is, and honestly, before I started getting out teaching, I didn't know it was any different, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I heard,
Okay.
I heard this rally like them, we're here for them. And I'm like, but you stop at that street, like that's not for them. Like your city managers and chiefs need, I mean, this doesn't come without growing pains, mind you, but for Mrs. Smith, holy cow, man, it is the cream of the crop response model for sure.
How I know I kind of trying to wrap my head around this. How long has this been being developed? Like was it, you said it was a Bruno City thing?
It was Bruno's vision years ago, and as long as I can remember, it has been like that. Now we've evolved and developed some stuff. Like Tempe probably has the most high rises. It borders my city right now. Before they had BLS ladders and we had ALS ladders. So at 2 a.m, that BLS ladder would be like, oh, I got a heart attack patient. Let's call Mesa in and transfer the patient to us for a follow-up. Well, that didn't bode well, with a lot of people. So what we had to get over is that was above our pay grade.
Right.
We're the boots on the ground and we're going to run the play, right? We got to understand it's not this in the field. We're there to be brothers and sisters and make this work.
Right.
In fact, back then it was Dennis Compton, and he said, you guys make it work until the chiefs can get together and the city council can get together and work out that, which is a slow process. It's a lot of money, right? But once that happens, then it just works. And I tell you, there's no other place I'd want to be for that response model, because there are trucks coming from everywhere. And since we operate off the same SOPs, we have 5 regional academies that almost teach with slight changes.
Sure.
But, because of equipment or whatever, we all operate the same way. So that being said, we're inbred. I'll use that term, inbred, right?
Sure.
So I was sitting at FDIC years ago, and 2 guys walked by and they said, man, we haven't heard anything good come from Phoenix Fire in a long time. And I was like, wow, that hit me hard, but you're not wrong, right? So we have our regional trainings and stuff like that, but we're big on hey, let's train the trainer, right? So our values, our mission, our message, our tactics haven't changed in a lot of years. So full circle, that's the value of not only going to these fire conferences. You're gonna learn new things. You're gonna meet dudes that are on the top of their game. Stuff that, like I said, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And when you get out there, and I meet a guy like Sam Hiddle and go, "You do what with 2 bars?"
Right.
And then I watch this guy, and I'm like, "Dude, you're a stud." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then people are so cool, Corley. I got to tell you, like I years ago, I used to kind of do a hump day hangout type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would just get my buddies like Brush and Van Dorp and Von Oppen and Starnes, and we would do just a YouTube thing for my crew. And then I would post it for the rest of my city. And I'd have these FDIC instructors that people could just digest and be on a personal level. And everybody's willing to share that information, man. There's nobody that hoards it. It's super cool.
No, it's powerful.
Yeah, it is. It is powerful. So that's the value of going. You got to grow. And if you're an inbred organization, kind of like us, that even fights outside training. Like I just did a couple conferences here, and there were a couple local chiefs that tried to shut it down. I felt like it was firemanship. The one before, we had the Phoenix Firefighter Symposium. And I think that was the largest industrial injury I've ever seen in the city, because Justin McWilliams hurt so many feelings. Right? So it was crazy. And I'm like, dude, we had Frank Lieb, we had Brian Brush, we had these, Von Oppen, UL, Nick Ledeen. We had all these players, and you guys focused on one thing that McWilliams said about a risk management plan that is written 4 different ways, 2 different ways in the same book that Bruno wrote. It's the intent of the message, but man, did he hurt some people's feelings. I was like, dude, I don't know how to write this industrial report. It was crazy. So then the next year in 2024, I tried to do the conference, and they're like, dude, we're not sending the honor. The union was amazing, but most of those guys at 493, but some of the higher ups were like, dude, we're not going to support it. We're not sending any resources. We're not helping you out. I'm like, how do you stifle that message, right? Like these guys, they're not talking about crappy tactics, and if they are, don't take it. You know what I mean? Like, but you're talking about leadership guys, keynote speakers of FDIC. You're talking about Dina Ali. You know what I mean? Doing her behavioral health stuff, and I mean we had Lamping and Jimmy Davis and all kinds of guys the next year. And literally they were just like, no, we're not sending anybody. You can go.
Wow. It's just politics and ego involved.
Politics and ego, man. It's crazy. So Bruno said egos eat brains, and there's only a couple of them. I mean, I got some friends in Phoenix that are just pipe hitters, and I'm really excited that like a lot of dudes just took the battalion chief test, and they're gonna raise the bar without a doubt. But yeah, man, I was so disappointed in our leadership then. It was crazy.
Well, let me ask you, because with that, like you said, cream of the crop, gold standard response model, boundaries out the window, everybody on the same SOPs. How tough is it to implement change or to make a, like whenever the research comes along and there it's like, whoa, this is, or, firefighter rescue survey data, or, you understand what I'm asking you.
Right. So it's hard. That's one of the downfalls about having that type of system. I'll just give you high rise, for example. So there's a group of Phoenix guys that wrote this Phoenix Fire high rise manual. And I won't name them on here because I don't know if they want me to, but I was trying to make some changes in high rise because I got an opportunity to teach at HROC, or the High Rise Operations Conference, a couple times with Clark, and it was amazing. So I learned a bunch of stuff from Gustin, Jerry Tracy, the who's who of high rise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I brought this stuff back, and my organization and a couple others changed right away, right? And some didn't, and we're still to this day. I brought them all out, and I have this prop. It's probably similar to the one that you just announced. It has 6 different PRVs, PRDs.
Yeah.
So, and we pump it at 260 PSI or whatever. So I set up our 3 ways. There's still a department that uses 75 feet an inch and 3/4 with a fog, and we got big buildings. So I set them all up, and I literally printed out the NFPA standards, 241, 13E, 14, 1710. And I said, hey, before we get started, which NFPA standard do you guys want to violate? Right. So if that doesn't grab your attention,
right.
Okay, I don't care, but let's figure it out before we write the NIOSH report. So we started pumping. We started pumping it. To this day, that organization still hasn't made that significant change. They think it's okay to send their firefighters up to, the 7th, 21st floor with 1 3/4 inch with a fog.
1 3/4 with an adjustable or an automatic.
With an automatic fog, yeah. So, and I'm like, dude, that's not okay.
Right.
You guys got to care more about your people than that. And I won't say what organization.
Sure.
They're listening and going, oh, shit. But, dude, that shame on you.
I thought that was settled like with Meridian Plaza and like,
dude, yeah, but pre-1993 stuff.
Say like 40 years ago, 30 years ago.
But again, that's the benefit of getting out to these conferences, because we're not a huge high-rise place. Now, Tempe's booming right now with high-rise. So again, we don't know what we don't know. What used to work or what we think works off a standpipe off a hose valve that doesn't have any pressure reducing or pressure restricting features, right? And I would say a large majority of people don't even know what they're looking at. I went to a high
No,
rise training. I'm
absolutely.
like, hey, this Zern 3000, are you going to teach us how to adjust that? And they're like, bro, I don't know how. I'm like, dude, you need to know that. Like, that's a big deal. So, but if you don't know what you don't know, then you know it's hard to fix. So regionally, we got no, this has always worked, right? That's the most dangerous phrase in the American fire service. This is the way we've always
Always
done
done it. Oh
it, right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
So but yeah, so it is hard to change. And when guys stop caring, or they're done kicking a dead horse or taking their licks and go, man, I'm done telling you, right? Then stuff, even that change, tends to go backwards,
Mm.
right? So, because you'll get somebody in there and go, what? Why aren't we using that gated Y anymore? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, so it's just one of those things. So that's the benefits of going to the fire conferences. So you can develop, evolve, and take those nuggets with you, and be more aware and diligent of what's going on, the changes in the fire service, what's going on around you, and what changes you need to do to bring your dudes home safe, right?
Love it.
Because if we're busy saving ourselves, we can't focus on saving Mrs. Smith. So
No, and like you said, kind of, to put a bow on it, which is it inoculates you against that the inbreeding.
right, for sure it does,
Yeah,
right? And
no,
I don't
it's
know if that's
beautiful.
the right term, but that's the term I'm going
We're
to
close.
use.
We'll go with it. We'll pretend like we'll just say it with authority.
I like it. Conviction
Uh,
and authority.
yeah.
It's true, right? Perception.
Gregory Van Ham said, I wanted to thank you for the great answer. That was a great answer. We went all over and smashed it. That was great.
Yeah, sorry for a roundabout way, man. Like,
No, it was phenomenal. I love it. That's what I love about the scrap is it's never a straight line. Bob Reiser, sorry.
what's up, dude? I love that guy. That guy's a stud. I aspire to be like him, like throwing a mile of ladders.
Right on.
Yeah.
Boundary drops are the way we should operate. How did you get to the point where the Chiefs councils agreed to push it forward?
Oh, but I wish I could tell you. Like I said, that was a Bruno thing. And keep in mind, I've been on for 26 years, so I grew up in this ICS thing when Phoenix was the tip of the spear, right? And Bruno, and then we got Dennis Compton, who was his assistant chief. So that took that out right away, right? These are guys that grew up in the same organization. They're great friends. They're both way ahead of their game, right? Just light years ahead of their game. So them working together with mutual city councils, they made that happen long before me, and frankly, they're just way smarter. You know what I mean? Like those guys. There's not a lot of people that can hold a candle to Brunacini and Dennis Compton. So that's how that happened. But really, I think it's got to boil down to good communication. You got to start with why, and for God's sake, you got to let go of the egos. If you're really there for public safety, then let's just make it happen.
Love it, man. Make it happen. Let me get my timestamp down. No, surrounded by good dudes. Chris Stewart said surrounded by good dudes. Speaking
No
of
good dudes. No good dudes.
Kyle Piverall coming at you said relationships are one of the most important things in the fire service. What are some natural and meaningful ways to meet the right people to build a tribe of like-minded and passionate people?
Oh man, just get out there and ask questions. Figure out what you're passionate about, figure out what your organizational needs are, and go out there and just meet the right people. Because once you're there, you're in the fold already, right? You're already the brother. So everybody's going to share the information as freely as they can. For example, again, I was sitting there with Jimmy Davis, and him and Clark Lamping are two of my, again, there's so many good friends of mine here. I can't even tell you. And Chris Stewart, that guy's forgotten more than I'll ever know. So, But Clark Lamping and Jimmy, I didn't know Jimmy really well. Clark and I have taught at H-Rock, but Jimmy, his mid-rise stuff was amazing. So I asked him, I said, "Hey man, I think my organization needs that. Would you mind sharing that information with me?" He goes, "Of course. Why wouldn't I?" Right. So I guess that's it. You just got to get out, meet the right people, network, and then those friendships come pretty easy, man. Especially now with social media. Like there's guys that I've never met that or some that have come through some of my classes, and we just keep and develop those relationships and foster those relationships on social media. And it works really well.
And one thing I'll tack on and I don't want to speak for you, Chris.
No,
You can
go for it.
correct
Yeah,
you can correct me in any way, shape, or form. But as you've sitting here and shared your story with me, when you started out, it was really just to make yourself better. You were looking for self improvement. You were looking for knowledge, and then the next step for you was to say, I want to bring these guys here and spread that knowledge. And it was all to me just outside looking in. You can, like I said, if it's not that case, it was you just wanted to spread what you'd learned.
right. Of course. Yep.
And that I'm telling you, man, that seems to be a recurring theme of how do I say this right? People who have impacted the fire service, whether it be nationally, locally, or whatever, it always seems to be that way. They want to improve themselves, and then not for their own reasons or ego reasons, but then they want to spread it to those they care about.
For sure.
And that seems to be the recurring recipe for these beautiful, beautiful relationships that get built.
For sure. And the reason why I told Chris, I said, "No good dudes." When I don't know if you've heard that story or not. He might have told it on your show, actually, on in Fire Station. I think it's 15 in Phoenix. They have a T-shirt with a coffee pot, kind of looks like the Kool-Aid dude.
Right.
It says "No good dudes." And so we got to ask what that's about, right? So they're like, "Hey man, those guys that in your firehouse that are like, well, he doesn't know, his ass from the hole in the ground. He's tactically incompetent, but he's a good dude." You know what I mean? So their shirt is no, there's no good dudes.
No
Here.
good dudes.
We're
Yeah.
all competent firefighters. So that's why I was like, "No good dudes, Chris."
Right on. Right on.
Yeah.
And I think he did tell us a story.
Yeah.
I know he did. And so
solid.
oh, absolutely. Like you said, forgot more than both of us we could rub our brain cells together. He's forgotten more than we'll ever know.
Sure.
Matty B coming at you from Louisiana. He said, "Chief, explain the club versus professional mentality."
The club versus professional mentality. Oh, Maddie. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Man, there's a lot of organizations that I've seen, and they're not mutually exclusive, and they're not, some individuals, but they don't take pride and ownership, and they embrace mediocrity at some point, right? So I spoke at the fire academy, and I've never been invited back since, by the way. So, and I told them, I said, "Hey, I think we use the term brother and sister here too lightly, right? These are new red shirts." And I said, "The guys out in the field wearing the blue shirts are my brothers and sisters. That they've earned that right." I said, "But just like any family, we have spats, right? Some of them treat it like a club, and when they embrace mediocrity and they don't go out and train, then you're not my brother and sister anymore. You're kind of my enemy, right? So all I ask of you is to go out and treat this like a profession. It's your job. So go out and train out of the 72 hours or 48 hours, whatever you work, go out and drill one of those days for an hour. I don't care if it's pulling hose. I don't care if it's walking into buildings that are going to kill you. I don't care if it's throwing a ground ladder, YouTubing some of the stuff, looking at some of the tactical stuffs out there. I don't care what it is. But the minute you pick that 1 hour to watch Desperate Housewives over that training, no thanks, bro. I don't want you on my fire scene. If Mesa Fire was a football team, I'd know the first 11 or 12 dudes that I want to respond, right? And the dudes are raising their hand going, "I want to be a part of that." That's it. take your job seriously,
Mm.
go out and drill, get in. There's no better way to tell the guys you care about them than give them some time to train and get into the buildings that are going to kill them. Right. So that's the difference.
Let me get my timestamp. And let me also say, I thought it was Matty B from Louisiana. It's Matty B from Arizona. So
Gotcha.
Matt Birkins, Louisiana, he's also in here. So we got two Matty B's rocking. So anyway, but anyway, great answer, dude. Killer answer. Absolutely. And people are saying timestamp, boom, timestamp. Let's go. No, absolutely. Lawrence Short, I like this one. He says might be a late question. He had a call. What are the top 3 conferences you'd recommend to someone new to the fire service? And I know it's a tough one, but I do like this.
Man, that is so. I'm gonna say it depends, right? I'm gonna say it depends on the demographics of your organization. So if you need to go just check stuff out, FDIC is an amazing conference, right? So there are 40,000 people there, and Corley, you and I can't walk down a hallway without knowing somebody. You know what I mean? It's amazing, and the buffet of stuff that you get is incredible, right? Firemanship. That conference has been there from the beginning for all the right reasons, right? So, and then Fire Nuggets, we host about 100 classes and 20 different conferences through the year, but pick the one that, because they rotate, right? They're not all the same. So look at it and say, man, I want to go to the Pacific Northwest because Brumley's there and McGrail. And, these are the speakers that I want to see, not necessarily the conference or the area, but it's the information. So, and then if you want to be specific, dude, go to HROC, right? Go to Command Officer Boot Camp. So it's really hard for me to say what a specific conference would be. It's more about dialing in the information that you want to soak in, share, and what you think is more important for your organization. So it's a difficult answer, but dude, there's so many good ones, right? There, of course, there's HROC, there's FDIC, there's Mile High Fire Conference in Denver. There's Pacific Northwest. The Orlando Fire Conference just happened.
Happening. Yeah.
Like there's so many good ones, but the speakers rotate. It's almost like a circuit. Like, oh, I need this guy. I need this guy. I had this dude last year, So go pick the information that you want, not the conference. That's what
that's great, man. Yeah, and I like that because you're basically saying put some work in on the front end to figure out the best one to get to. Because there are so many to choose. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that answer. Great answer. Way to break them down. Lawrence Short says, do you know when the Copper State Fire Conference will come back?
Lawrence, so we did, well, like I said, last year, there were organizations that tried to shut down the conference, and I didn't do any hands-on. So I have asked for, my hardest thing is a venue right now, just because we're hiring so many people. The regional academies are slammed. So if Gilbert Fire or, Chandler wants to host it again, I would love to do it again. I'm on my way out in 10 months. I would love to do another all women's fire conference again. That was amazing. I had some great speakers. And then I'd love to do a Copper State where we actually bring back that hands-on training. So if I can do it again, and any of those Gilbert guys want to reach out and say yes, dude, I'm all in. So I don't care what those higher ups think. We're going to push through, and we're going to deliver this information to bring our dudes home safe. That's it. Bottom line.
I love it. We haven't got to hardly any topics. You've absolutely crushed it. It's been amazing. John M. Sullivan wanted to know first hard lesson you learned in your early days and how it shaped you or your own ideology.
Oh man. That is a great question. So there's been a couple, right, through the years. As a firefighter, we had a couple great fires. I've had the opportunity to make a couple grabs. I've had an opportunity, I had a double fatality years ago that changed the way I work my nozzle. We still got 9 people out of the back of that house. But So those were hard lessons learned with interior nozzle work and stuff like that. As I grew more passionate, um, I said this in Meridian, Idaho. I don't know if Chris Bloom's on here, but he said, "Hey, what's a lesson you learned, or you could go back and tell yourself?" And that lesson was pretty simple. It was, don't be a dick. Um, and so, and I was that in my organization. And you could tell by the way I speak, I've made some enemies along the way. I am not allowed to teach in my own organization, right? So, and that's my fault. That's nobody else's fault, but mine. So I burnt some bridges there that I shouldn't have burnt. But those lessons learned were coming back from these fire conferences and want to make too much change and not understanding what that organizational digestive process was, right? So here I am saying, I want to change the hose loads. I want to change the nozzle. I bought my own nozzle and put it on the hose. The chief's like, you can't do that, right? So we get into a little bit of a debate. So I didn't do myself any favors. So lessons learned are, when you want to bring information back, you get more bees with honey, bro. Like, start developing and making those relationships work, right? Once you realize those relationships work, I don't know if you've ever seen, I got to teach a leadership class in Idaho next month, which I've never done, by the way. And I'm going with a good friend of mine, Von Oppen. So I'm like, what? Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah,
Like,
no pressure at all.
No pressure. Right? So, but one of my videos, you guys can look it up after this. It's called The Shirtless Dancing Guy.
Yeah.
And it's one of just those leadership videos where in order to lead, you need a first follower. And I didn't do that, right? It's self-reflecting. I never had that first follower. I'm like, I'm right. I'm going to cram it down your throat, until I started to back off. And then I started, putting people in the right places to change. Everything that I started to change or wanted to change had started in 2014, and we are just finishing right now. And I got to tell you, a lot of that's my fault, right? Had I that lesson learned that I'm trying to give you right now is, don't get hung up on the people that are saying no, right? Explain to them why we need it more than that we just need it, right? Explain to them the benefit, not only to your organization, but to Mrs. Smith. How's this going to impact us as an organization and a community? And do the legwork for them. What part of the organization is this going to impact? Is this going to change, resource because we got to buy new hose? Is this going to change the apparatus committee because we need a spec and apparatus? It's not just as easy as sometimes we think. It affects multiple entities within our own organization, not to mention our mutual aid or automatic aid partners that are going, dude, I can't do that. Right. So don't be a dick, right? Just foster those relationships and learn from my lessons, man, because I didn't do myself any favors. So
great piece of advice. I mean, that's solid. Solid. Not to just, and the story with it. Jason and Lena Cordell want to know, ask him how often he is asked to take his shirt off.
Back when I was like lean and in shape, it was more often than not, but
less and less of the older.
I'm in shape, dude, and it's round. So round is a shape.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Jason's the guy that wants me to come up and do that leadership class. I actually told him, I'm like, dude, it's not my wheelhouse. You need to call Frank Lieb. You need to call Mark Von Oppen. You need to call Viscuso. You need to call Brian Brush. You need to call David Rhodes, because he's the epitome of a leader. Like, dude, I'll get into that in a second, but don't call me. I'm not that guy, right? I'm a student of leadership, and these guys are my mentors. So I'm excited to go down there and try something. We're going to call it Leading with Valor, and I'm going to get into different Fireground calls. And I'd like to say I'm a servant leader, but really on different Firegrounds and different operations, I had to use different leadership styles on all of these. Okay. So I kind of developed a program to where, like, I'm going to share, we always say don't bring commercial tactics or residential tactics to commercial fires. Well, I had an industrial fire where one of my captains like, hey, bro, don't bring commercial tactics to industrial fires. And dude, we had a lot of lessons learned.
Mm.
We just had, I don't know if you saw on the news 6 months ago, we had a residential structure collapse with 10 of our firefighters interior, right? So there are some lessons learned there. So we're going to get into the sword of Damocles. We're going to get into the dichotomy of leadership. We're going to get into a bunch of stuff there. I'm going to relate it to certain calls. So, dude, I'm super excited about it.
No, it sounds like an amazing class. I can't wait to catch it at some point.
I
Hopefully, I
don't know
get a
about
chance.
that. I told him, I said, bro, I'll put something together for you, and I'm going to call you back in a week. If I think it sucks, then you're going to have to call somebody else. But once I kind of dove into it, I was like, man, I think I can do it. Let's try it. So
Right on, man. I like this one because we're getting into nozzle work, some engine work here, and I'm getting it from. Oh, he took it away. But I think basically the nuts and bolts of the question was this: what is the difference? What makes someone a true nozzleman versus someone who just opens the bell? That was the nuts and bolts of the question. Your opinion.
You gotta get in. You want to learn something new? Open an old book, right? You've got to get into Lloyd Lehman. You got to call Shoup. You got to call Laguerre. You got to make some phone calls of these old school nozzle guys. And then you got to get on the phone and call Lars from Sweden. And you have to understand the difference between what a smooth bore can do, what a fog nozzle can do, what are the benefits of each of those, when you want to use steam, when you don't want to use steam, the benefits of surface cooling, gas cooling, all of that goes in there. You've got to do some research, some studies. You got to get with guys like John Brumley, Jay Bonnefeld, flow some water in fire and see what this stuff actually does. But dude, that's not an easy task, because to be a good nozzleman, and I'll say nozzleman, you have got to understand air entrainment, water mapping, surface cooling, gas cooling, just the speed of your nozzle rotation is huge. You got to go back and read the Iowa State University study, right, with Royer Nelson. You've got to do so much legwork on this, and I've got it, right? So, but to understand what you can do operationally, interior is going to set you apart, and you absolutely have to do that. If you are on the engine and you are on a pipe, you have to do your due diligence to understand this, or it's an operational failure. Because Bruno said it years ago too. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, you signed up to put your body, your fire resistive clothing in between whatever is impacting Mrs. Smith's safety and security, right? You signed up for that. So the only thing that's going to set you apart operationally is to know how to move that nozzle when you're standing up, and how to move that nozzle when you're flowing low, whether you're flowing in a Camella position with the heel, or you're clamp sliding, or you're knee walking, or you're doing a push, right? Dude, you need to know it all. And if you don't promote, because you're not a good enough nozzleman. And I could tell you, I got the opportunity, me, Brumley, and Bonnefeld were teaching at the North Florida Fire Expo, and Jay was teaching the anatomy of the push, and I hadn't met him before. And Brumley's just amazing. So
Across the board, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I go, hey, we broke down this prop that we're doing for Fire by Trade, and 3 dudes, one's from Denver, one's from Arizona, and one's from Florida. And operationally, we are moving these 2.5s like it is butter. And the same thing that happened to me in firemanship when I'm working with Ben Schultz and Sean Duncan. And then that's how I met Casey Gahorrigan. She had like, hey, Brian said I can hang out with you guys. I'm like, hell yes, you can. So to answer the last guy's question, that's it. Just ask one of the instructors, hey, man, can I shadow you? And if it's not something like FDIC, they might say yes, right? That's Casey Corrigan, Valerie Solano, Adam Sisler. They all shadowed us at some point, right? To share that information, to understand efficient, good nozzle work. So,
I love it, man. Dude, that was a phenomenal answer. I didn't want to interrupt your flow at all, man.
Dude, I feel like I'm in old school right now. Yeah.
No, we're past an hour, so I'm going to keep going here right now because I want to talk to you about the work you did on the Book of Andy, the Fire Nuggets work with David Rose and, of course, Bobby Holt along the way, but kind of that story there and how that came about, because I don't know if anybody's ever heard it on the Scrap, at least.
Man, it was awesome. So I got to tell you, I'm the president of Fire Nuggets, which is a nonprofit with 100% volunteer dudes. None of us get paid, right? This was developed by Sprague and Fonzie and those guys. They bought it from a couple guys years ago, Ted Corporandi and Paul Schuler, and it just took off, right? So I would think that Fire Nuggets is the biggest training consortium outside like fire engineering. I mean, we do 100 classes a year, 20 big conferences all over the country. We have over $1 million coming in and out, and none of us get paid, right? So we brought on Lee Hubbard, who's the executive director of the ISFSI as well, to help us manage some stuff because we were growing. And then all of a sudden my phone rings and it's Bobby Halton, right? And I'm excited. I'm like, what's Bobby Halton calling me for, right? So, and again, I'm in a bubble in Arizona, right? We're inbred. So not a lot of people know me unless you're on the circuit. So, and I kind of like it like that. I think I told you, I called Sam Hiddle and I was like, hey, Sam, will you come out and teach in Arizona? And he goes, man, you got to go through Fire Nuggets. I'm like, bro, I'm the president. He's like, oh, but I liked that, you know,
Right,
what I
right.
mean? So as long as I could take a back seat. So Bobby calls me and he wants to work on this Book of Andy project. And so I called the Fire Nuggets guys and they were a little reserved. So some of them, I guess, had some issues with Bobby
Sure.
in the past. Right. And, but Bobby didn't know me and I didn't know Bobby real well. So I'm going to give him a clean slate. Right. So we started working together. And it was, I'm just going to say difficult, right? Just the communication and stuff like that. It went on for months and months. And it wasn't going anywhere. Right. To the point where he's like, dude, I want to release this book at FDIC. And I said, I think, Chief, we're at an impasse. Like, he goes, well, I might just publish the fire engineering articles. Because the way it worked is Fire Nuggets owns half of the copyrights of all those articles. Andy wrote them for us originally, right?
Gotcha.
So that's how that worked out. So to the point where I had part one and they had part two, or vice versa, right? So then, of course, I said, well, I think we should give Gary Lane credit for this because he's the original dude that compiled it. And man, you would have think I
can only imagine.
Dude, yes, I didn't need to say no more, right?
Right.
So anyways, I call Gary. He's a friend of mine. Love the dude. Call Aaron Fields, talk to Aaron a little bit. We're having these sidebar conversations, and I get the entire scoop. And then I was going to fly down to FDIC that year, and David Rhodes was already coming out here for the Phoenix conference, right? So Bobby, unfortunately, God rest his soul, he passed away before I got to fly down to FDIC, right? So David Rhodes was out here during that interim, and I had known that David was kind of next up for the succession. So I said, sir, I think you and I need to talk. And he said, yeah, let's do it. So we sat down and talked, and I said, here's where we're at. You know, all the proceeds have to go to Michelle and Andy and Haley. And he's like, okay. He's like, I can get around that. And then we were talking about some other stuff, and he goes, let me get back to you. And he goes, hey, Chris. And that's where, you know, a lot of that stuff got hung up. He goes, hey, Chris, I love you where your head's at, but we got to call it royalties. And he goes, and here's why. So I was like, okay. So I brought it back to the Fire Nuggets guys, explained why. And they're like, okay. Then we talked to Michelle, you know, and we wanted to make sure what she wanted. So she signed, you know, the stuff for us to use Andy's likeness on the challenge coins and the patch, you know, all that stuff to use his name. And I tell you what, the David Rhodes Him and I got this thing done in a month just because the way he communicated and his leadership style. He's honest, he's forthright, he's a good human being. And I can't say enough about how easily it was to get this project done. And again, this probably had something to do with the past and some historical the issues that I wasn't privy to that led egos to get in the way of getting this done with Bobby Halton,
Right.
right? But those were all gone with David. So it felt like we got this done. And I'm like, hey man, do you want to use our logo? He goes, yeah, if you wouldn't mind, that'd be great. And there's some other issues that we had to work through, but honestly, he was so easy to work with. And he just seemed trustworthy. So every time I'd take it back to the board, I'd put him on it and um, then we got it done. I mean, we just got it done. And then I'm watching him and I'm like, I know there are some burnt bridges between firemanship and some of these other conferences with fire engineering before. And David has rebuilt all of those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My captain told me a long time ago, dude, you never pick a fight with a guy that buys ink by the barrel. Like that you're just so hey, you want to make people, you want to develop relationships like that, but right. So David just made it easy. So that was awesome. So all the royalties go to Michelle and Andy's family. You know, we worked out a deal where you know, he hooks up Fire Nuggets with some of the books, and he was just easy to work with, so it was awesome.
No, he gets stuff done. That's what he does, man. He is a leader and a facilitator and humble and all of it. Yeah.
He's the epitome of leadership, right? I mean, look what he's done to recover the fire service in a year, or 2 years. Like he's just redeveloped relationships and brought back the community of heavy hitters, right? Brought all the pipe hitters back together and said, hey, let's change this for the good. Stop working against each other because we have a common goal, right? So again, get the egos out of the way and let's do it. And I texted him the other day. I said, man, I tell you one regret is that I wasn't president long enough to foster this relationship between fire engineering and Fire Nuggets even more, because the two entities are so powerful in the training world. It's unbelievable. So
awesome. No, I loved it. I love hearing the story, man. I love it. And a lot of people don't know the back. I mean, there's a whole lot to it besides that, but just kind of how it came to fruition there at the end and how it came to be the official book of Andy and etc. So no, phenomenal, man. So since we're talking about books, let's move to book or books that you think firefighters should be reading. Cause I love this question. It's one of my favorite questions to ask.
Dude, there's so many.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a ton of them. I'm a leadership guy. I like It's Your Ship. It's a really good book. The Trident by Jason Redman.
Yes.
Great book. Anything by McRaven, but those two books and one of my favorites as well is The Infinite Game with Simon Sinek. So I mean, just those three will get you a really good grasp on what you're supposed to be doing in life. So
beautiful answer, man. Not a single one I would disagree with. And McRaven's would be Make Your Bed and Wisdom of the Bullfrog.
Yep, Wisdom of the Bullfrog at least. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. The Trident, Redmond, It's Your Ship, Abershoff. I'm just getting them for everybody out there.
Yep.
And Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game, which is his third book. I believe it's his third. I could be wrong on that. He may have
Start with Why, Leaders Eat Last, and that one. Yeah. So
The Infinite Game.
All great books, but I do enjoy The Infinite Game. So
gotcha. No, I love it. Which takes me, let me see. Let me get my notes up to make sure I'm not. I've only done this show 289 times.
Yeah. The basic laws of the Fireground, right? You just leave with everyone and everything you came with. And then there's those three swear words that I told your grandpa I'm not going to say, right?
Right.
The F word, front door, under a minute, charged, kink free.
Front door, under a minute, charged, kink free.
Right. So there's that one. And then you have aggressive, suppression, and search.
Aggressive, suppress. Okay.
So you got to get it to the front door, under a minute, charged, kink free, for an aggressive suppression and search, right? And if you don't do that, you're going to come up with sudden heat induced terror.
Sudden heat induced terror. Got it.
Right. So those three acronyms right there will sum up, besides the basic laws of the Fireground. That's it.
I love it. There's your acronym there's your weekly scrap acronym for the week from Chris Sleigher.
Right. You guys can put it together. I'm not going to swear on your show, buddy. So at least not that much.
Fair enough. Again, people seem to self-regulate. That's okay. I respect it. It's 100% your choice. This takes us to the 5 questions for firefighters.
All right, let's do it.
This is version 4.0. I tried to get you here for version 1.0. It was a long time ago, but we're at 4.0. So here we go. There are no right answers. It is strictly your opinions, and we pass out max points with the help of the studio audience. The points are completely arbitrary, and we will see how you do. So here we go. Are you ready for the 5 questions for firefighters?
I'm ready for it.
You're the probie once more. It's a while back, but you're the probie once more, and you have to cook a meal at the firehouse. What is your go-to meal?
So I look at Jimmy Davis and I'm like, really, sloppy joes on garlic bread, open face? Like, that sounds amazing. But for lunch, we do an open face sandwich too. It's just like a little aioli or mayonnaise with some green peppers and either pastrami or Black Forest ham with some cheese on top. So I like that for lunch. And for dinner, I do a stuffed chicken breast with feta and goat cheese with a little asparagus inside the chicken breast. Wrap it all up in like a butcher string and put some cheese on top of it. And then whatever your side wants to be. I usually do like a strawberry spinach salad with some like poppy seed dressing with that chicken breast. And it's like a little sweet and salty. And so that's what I'll go through for dinner.
Wow, we got a little foodie going on here. You got a little skill. You got some skills.
But dude, I'm gonna make those sloppy joes. I gotta tell you.
Okay, fair enough. No, and Steve Mouch, I was hoping nobody would catch that Mouch. Yeah, we don't pass out max points here. They are earned. They are earned every time. There is no doubt. Now, there are a lot of max points given, but it's from the quality of the guest. It really is. And that's easy. I mean, honestly, you're wrapping asparagus and chicken breast and melting cheese on top of it. That's a max points. Anytime you're incorporating butcher string and feta cheese, you're getting max points on the meal. So out the gate, 1 for 1, max points. Here we go. Number 2, it's Jobtown. It's time. You're en route responding like the scene from Backdraft, slapping that tape into that cassette deck. What song are you playing while en route?
Dude. And this just takes me back to a call that I'll never forget. Like, we just had a rip and fire, and it was 3 Doors Down, Superman. So that was it. I'd play that one again. Superman
by 3 Doors Down.
Yep.
3 Doors Down. All right. And that is the first time with 3 Doors Down. I'm pretty sure. They have not been. Yeah, Sam's saying yes. That's the first time 3 Doors Down. It will be added to the Spotify playlist. There is a Spotify playlist with all of the answers, and it grows every week. Well, usually it grows. Sometimes we get a repeat, but today was not that day. Number 3, max points. 3 Doors Down, max points. Number 3, whose boots, past, present, or future, would you like to spend 24 hours in?
Man, I got to keep it local. I got to go Bruno.
Oh yeah, that's hard to knock.
Yeah, I mean, dude. The guy was way ahead of his time. He's a legend.
Would you say, this is me just digging in. Normally I don't try to dig in too much, but would you say young Bruno as he's learning, or would you say older and wiser Bruno as he's passing out wisdom?
Yeah, older and wiser Bruno.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I would think that would probably be I think that'd be most people's answer, but I wondered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phenomenal. Easy. Bruno Cini, max points. 3 for 3. Number 4, you are retired, which is not that long away. You are retired. You're sitting on the beach enjoying Mai Tais, and you hear through the grapevine that the people you used to work with, how do they describe you to the new hires?
I'd like them to tell my kids or whoever that not only was I a good firefighter, but more importantly, I want them to tell them that they know I cared about them. The whole time. I need my guys to know that I care about them and they are my first priority. And the reason why I do what I do, and I'm still engaged 26 years later, and here you and I, 5 years later, after you asked me to do the first podcast, I'm here today still making a push. Not for me, buddy. It's not for me. It's for my dudes.
I love it. That's the easy max points, man. I want them to know I cared about them, man. And that's solid. Final question. I think I know the answer, but I always am curious to see how people answer. But it's heavy fire, searchable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on VES?
Man, so crazy enough, we just finished up a Grabs podcast because I was in this position. I got to take the knob. So
Can't knock it. I honestly, that was I knew you were an engine guy through and through, heart and soul. Love the
yeah,
nozzle, and I knew it. But you never know. You never know, especially if you made a grab. So,
yeah.
absolutely love it. That makes it official. 5 for 5, easy 5 for 5 max points, brother. You absolutely crushed the 5 questions for firefighters, and that officially makes it 289 scraps in the books. My brother, Chris Sleigher, thank you for sharing your evening with us. If someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do so?
You can just email me at ffcrslayer, SLEIGHER at gmail.com, or you can call or text me anytime. Open door. My phone number is 602-689-1231.
And this is always an issue, especially when it's a good guess. But I had let me see, I had 7 general questions, 7 general topics that I was going to ask questions about, and we literally got to 2 of them. And so that's a phenomenal problem to have. The audience brings such great questions right down your wheel. You absolutely crushed it. Great discussion, great scrap across the board. But I have to ask you to come back, and we won't wait 5 years.
Yeah, no, we can't do that.
So we'll do it.
Back, man, and thank you for having me.
Oh, so, brother, it was. I think the scrap brought value to the fire service tonight. I do, man. And that's the whole purpose of it. Right. So thank you so much. Housekeeping, of course. Right after this, Chris has agreed to come into the scrap after party, be there with the vigilantes, and get roasted by the vigilantes. He said he's fireman. He can handle. So we'll see how that goes. But if you want to be a part, become a vigilante. It's an amazing. Right now, we're on day 9 of the V50. It's a 50-day challenge or 50-day commitment that we're all, well, I say all, a bunch of us are doing together and staying accountable to each other. It's phenomenal. We're on day 9. It's been really cool to see the support come out. But anyway, go to patreon.com/thevigilantes. Become a part of it because it's amazing. If you're not, why not? Be with the like-minded souls. Next week, 290, Nicholas Papa coming on. We're going to talk about ventilation. We're going to talk about tactics. We'll see how many questions we get to next week with Nick Papa. Followed by none other than Keith Stakes coming on, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of tactics talk with Keith. So you don't want to miss what's coming up. Be a part. Enough jabbering for me. Let's get to the after party. Thank you once again, Chris, for spending. I mean, I can't thank you enough, man. Thank you.
My pleasure, man. I hope I didn't let anybody down here. So, but yeah, thanks for having me.
No, I think you can read the thing. It says awesome scrap, novice job, max points. Yes. Thank you, Chief. That totally awesome scrap. Yes. Oh, challenge. Thank you, Cody Brooks. I completely forgot. Sorry. See, that's on me. Challenge. Scrap challenge. We throw this out each and every week. I'm supposed to throw this out there. I need you to give the people who are still listening a challenge that they need to complete before the next scrap.
I think this one's pretty easy. If you guys don't have a good foundation of what a flow path is, I had a chief tell me on a fire, well, I don't need to know what that is because I told him I got a heavy fire and a flow path coming out of these 2 doors. And he goes, I don't need to know what that is. And I'm like, well, you're wrong. Right. But so you absolutely do to understand those tactics. So if you guys don't have a really good foundation of what flow path is, I would encourage you to get on YouTube, look up ATF Fire Research Lab, Adam St. John, Mark Folkenhand, Line of Duty Death Review. It is a 3-part series. Each one of them are about an hour. Try to get through 3 hours of those, and you get a very, very good understanding of fire behavior, flow path, multiple line of duty deaths, Cherry Road, Diamond Heights, of course, the Mark Falkenhand review. It is invaluable, the information that you're going to pick up from some of this. Adam works for ATF. He's a fire protection engineer, but he's also a firefighter. So it's very easy to understand, very easy to digest. Throw it on, right after lunch and watch those 3 videos and get a very good understanding of what this fire behavior is and what it can do to us. And in fact, I'm going to go, that's my next battalion level training is fire behavior. And that's a lot of it. So
Boom, boom. Hey, that's one of the, we've only been doing this year, so we're in February. So we've had about 6 challenges thrown out. That's one of the most articulate and well-defined challenges yet, like very defined. So very well, very nicely done. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Smokey Squid, for reminding me, because I about dropped the ball on that. Now, the other one I almost dropped the ball in is, tell me a person that you think should be on the scrap, or back on the scrap. And I especially like this question. I'm afraid to ask it almost because of your network.
Oh, there are so many good ones. I don't know if you had Jay Camella. I don't know if he's willing to do it.
I've had less luck with him than I have with you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got that. I call it the Camella lock because I learned it from Brush, and he told me it was the Camella lock. I go have beer with Jay. He goes, "It's not the Camella lock, Chris. I learned it from somebody else." But again, just having beers with these guys at different conferences, hoping to hook up with Jay at FDIC, just truly inspirational guys, man, that have forgotten more than I'll ever know in the fire service. So I think Jay would be a good one if you could get him to do it.
If I could get him to do it, I need somebody who has some stroke with him to try and grease those gears and make it happen. So
yeah, Shoop would be good too. I don't know if you've had Shoop on.
I have not had Shoop on. I have.
Yeah,
not.
he would do it, and he would be outstanding.
Okay,
So,
no, anybody that has a book of, I definitely need to have on. Yeah,
right. Enough articles published that you can make a book out of.
Yeah,
that's huge. Yeah,
I love it. Hey, thank you once again, and thank you, Cody. Again, thank you for reminding me on those two. So, with that being said, audience, I cannot thank you enough for being here. You make the scrap magical each and every week. Your questions absolutely drive the discussion, and without you, it would just be me and Chris having a conversation, which I would enjoy. But you guys absolutely knock it out of the park each and every week, and I can never thank you enough. Thank you for tuning in live. I love you all. Remember, mutts don't scrap. I hope the tones stay silent unless it is burning. Everybody, stay safe out there.
Be safe.